discussion now is about the pros and cons, or the pros really, between the two main routes into flying, the modular route and the integrated route.
The terms modular, integrated, MPL are regulatory terms. If your end goal is to become an airline pilot, all three of those regulatory pathways have validity.
The modular route, as the name suggests, allows you to complete your training in a series of modules. And the idea is that you would start off doing your private pilot's license at usually a specialist private pilot's license school, local flying school, and then you proceed from there. Most people, I think, would take sort of 3 to 5 years to complete, and that's a reflection of the fact that they are working at the same time and they're fitting in the flying training around the job, the family, and all the other factors of life.
The modular route can have you any number of places. A lot of people choose to go to America, other places in Europe, so you're not in that one environment.
Modular candidates carry considerably less debt into employment, and they also come from a different demographic. They come from, in many cases, families who don't have £120,000 or so to pay for a full-time course. And there's an appetite from the airline recruiters to get into that demographic, to get people who have a wider set of life experiences.
You're going to embark on a full-time course of airline pilot-focused training. During that course of training, you will learn to fly in exactly the same way as the modular system, single-engine piston aircraft, multi-engine piston aircraft, and take numerous tests on the way through. It's a full-time course of training with all the necessary components to enable the end career outcome.
I lived aviation for 15 months. I was based on an airport. I was surrounded by like-minded individuals. I was fully focused and dedicated on working towards my ATPLs and my flying. You know, you're a product of your environment there. You're supported by your peers, by your instructors.
The cost from start to finish varies depending on the training providers that you use, but the bottom end cost would be around about £45,000 from beginning to end, and that's including accommodation and test fees. And the top end cost would be unlikely to be more than about £65,000.
We currently price our integrated course at £93,800. Single pilot to multi-pilot, you are looking at, as Alex says, about 18 months, so in our case 70 weeks.
I think it's very true to say that a lot of airlines recruit only from integrated schools. And I don't think that anybody would argue with that the integrated schools do produce a good, homogeneous product and the airlines know exactly what they're getting. However, there is an appetite for a different sort of pilot in the airlines, and they are looking for people who have a bit more life skills, people who have worked in industry, people who are used to working in team environments, and modular candidates generally can do that.
Probably the worst example I saw was the start of the global financial crisis, where there was potentially a lost generation where people were waiting. I think the worst scenario was 15 months. And during that time, clearly people have to reconcile how they repay their debt. As I say, the best I've seen it is probably now, where people are waiting days, weeks, a month at most.
Well, it's a cyclical industry, always has been, and the downturns come when you don't expect it. This is probably the best recruiting time that we have seen, certainly in my time in the industry, which goes back 30 years or so. But cycles end, they always end.
Every airline employer these days will be looking for some form of assessment of competence and skills during professional training, whether it's modular, MPL or integrated. So take nothing more away from this session today, is you must get assessed.
We would now suggest that people go through selection processes at the start, and we use the Honourable Company of Air Pilots, what used to be called GAPAN, who do completely independent aptitude testing at the beginning.
We have a standard fee of £295, which is a tiny sum of money to pay compared to getting it wrong.
As well, I loved being in that environment. It was a great place to study. I had one of the best years of my life there.
I also came to a lot of these shows and I spoke to a lot of pilots, and the general feedback was
that airlines tend to look at the integrated schools, you know, they have the relationships there. So I wanted to put myself in the best position if I was making such a financial commitment.
With the modular, you can pace it to suit yourself, whether that's due to financial constraints or potentially due to developments within the industry. So yeah, 4 years, but you can vary that. And I based that timescale on my finance and what I knew the industry was doing in terms of recruitment.
I would actually promote having a career to fall back on. You don't know what the industry is going to do as well. You know, you don't know what's going to happen at the end of your training, how quickly you'll get a job.
If every one of you in here go through training, you all come out with the same license. So you need to have something different from the person next to you.
It's having that something a little bit different, working on the skills that you have. I'm actually a mother of 2 children, and so I again use that to my advantage.
But basically just get yourself involved in anything that you think will look good. Obviously enjoy it, don't do it if it's just a case you want to tick in the box, because that will show through when someone starts asking you questions about it.
So it's a case of working hard, thinking from day one how you would want people to perceive you. I think some people can go into it thinking it's just the straight A's. It's not. It's how you are as a person as a whole. You can have a failure and you can still come out, you know, with great opportunities at the end of it.
In the 15 years or so we've been doing this, is make yourself stand out. Not by putting other people down, but make yourself stand out, because that is the way in which you get yourself noted and the CV doesn't go in the bin.
Take every opportunity that presents itself to you, because sometimes it is you're just in the right place at the right time.
To the people who are helping train the pilots, Alex and Anthony, and to Dale and Ruth, who will be flying you safely for the future, can you show a round of applause to thank them?
229, you're